Hey, how you doing? This is John, and welcome to John's Long Box. Today we're looking at Who's Who Update 1987, Volume 1. So this came out after the Who's Who was completed with like updated information and new characters and things like that. So DC, flogging a dead horse over here. So let's look at this. Let's look at these characters. We got Captain Atom, Ares over there. No, I never liked that character. Brimstone, I thought that was just a cool design. So let's open it up and take a look. All right. So we got the weapons check. There's the Blue Beetle's light gun, Booster Gold's force field belt, and blasters. I always like Booster Gold. Bob Greenberger. All right. All right. So let's take a look at this. Now we got the Young All Stars. I guess when I hold the camera like this, I can't do a full page. I keep asking guys, what the jury's still out. What do you like it, the aspect like this, or do you like it the way I normally do it? All right, I thought I'd try something different today. So the Young All Stars was a comic book that I think I am probably the only person on the planet that liked this comic. I know somebody else in the comments said that they liked it too. But art by Howard Simpson and Malcolm Jones III. All right, this was written by Roy Thomas, and I keep saying that Roy Thomas was a working encyclopedia of all things comic books. And as far as I know, I think Roy Thomas was like the first fanboy to get hired in the comic book fields. Like, so I think he was like a second generation, meaning that the people before him, the professionals before him, like I don't think that they went like to become comic book artists. They just took a job and found out either they liked it or what have you. But Roy Thomas was a kid who grew up reading comic books, loved comic books, and wanted to become a comic book professional. And he did, and he was excellent at it. So I really like Roy Thomas. Roy Thomas, he became like the editor-in-chief of Marvel for a while and things like that. But this comic book, look at my filthy hands. Jeez, filthy hands. But this comic book had like the wrong intentions. It was created to fix continuity. So after the Crisis on Infinite Earths, it retroactively changed DC's continuities. For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, DC for the longest time had Earth 1 and Earth 2, and Earth 2 was the original superheroes, which always bothered me. Earth 1 was the modern superheroes, like the Silver Age superheroes, and then what they did was they merged them, and because they merged them, you couldn't have two Batmans and you couldn't have two Supermans. So the modern one was the only one that stuck. So who was the Golden Age Batman? Well, it was Flying Fox. Who was the original Superman? Well, it was Iron Monroe. Who was the original Wonder Woman? Well, it was Fury. Who was the original? Was there an original Aquaman? I don't know. But anyway, he was supposed to be Robin. They didn't need to do that. Either commit to the bit. Batman, Superman, and stuff. They the whole that was the problem with the Crisis on Infinite Earths, is it half-assed it. Meaning, if you're gonna start over, cancel all the comics, start all the comics at once, and don't refer to the old continuity. It's a new world. Come up with an editorial decree of what happened during World War II, and set some comic books in World War II. But this is fiction. So those stories still happen, but they happen with somebody else. To me, it just made it more confusing. So there you go. I still like the comic. Oh, the All-Star Squadron. Here's a comic that I absolutely love. The All-Star Squadron was DC's World War II heroes. So the legend that FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, asked all mystery men, that's what they called the superheroes back then, to form a team and help him. They couldn't the story that they had concocted why all the superheroes just didn't go in and take over and beat Adolf Hitler was because Hitler had the Spear of Destiny, and the magic of the Spear of Destiny prevented any superhuman beings that weren't allied with the Axis from invading any place that was conquered. So that they could stay in England and things like that in the United States, but they couldn't go into like Nazi occupied France or things like that. So otherwise Superman could just fly over and beat up Adolf Hitler at the end of the war. So why didn't that happen? Because of the magic powers. So this was a super team of everybody. I like this comic. I'm not going to list everybody's names, but don't you just love this? Who drew this? Oh, Howard Simpson Howard Simpson and Danny Bellotti. I just look at some of these costumes. Johnny Quick. That's a great costume. That's a great costume. I like his trench coat, the Crimson Avenger. I like his trench coat costume better. The Tarantula is so bad, it's awesome. And then Black Condor, so bad, it's just bad. But that's my favorite Green Lantern, the Alan Lantern. As much as I don't like the Green Lanterns, that's my favorite. Just awesome. Wildcat, I love Wildcat. I could sit there and say I love this all day long. So here we have Amazing Grace, art by John Byrne. Wow. Oh, okay. So Amazing Grace is the sister of Glorious Godfrey from the New Gods. It says first appearance Superman second series number 3. So this isn't a Jack Kirby creation. It's a John Byrne creation. John Byrne inserted her into the New Gods mythology. I don't got much to say about her. I don't think she had many appearances. Amethyst, Princess of Gemworld. This is by Keith Giffen and Bob Smith, two legendary talents. I told you that I didn't really like fantasy too much. I liked fantasy. I read The Lord of the Rings. I read The Hobbit and all that stuff as a kid, the Earthsea trilogy and whatever. But I didn't like fantasy comics too much. But for some reason I liked Amethyst because in my mind she was kind of a superhero. She was like Shazam. She had an Earth body, and then she would go to Amethyst and have like this adult woman body, kind of like Narnia, and she would have these adventures and she had superpowers. I kind of liked it. There was something about it that I really liked, and the conceit was that in Gemworld, all the different clans, all the different houses, think of like Targaryen and Stark and all that, they were all based on gems, and they had the abilities of the gems. So the Onyx family were like strong, the Diamond family were like rich and powerful, and the Opal family, or the Pearl family, they were like seafaring. But there you go. It was a good comic. I liked it. As I can't seem to turn the page. Oh, Ares. I love this. This is George Perez. I could have told that before I even looked. But I just love this design for Ares. You never see his face. He has these glowing eyes. Just an embodiment of like the evil warrior. Just so cool. I don't know. That is just awesome. Just awesome. Just the look. I mean, if you're gonna, Wonder Woman is gonna fight Ares. It's just a given. You're gonna have a mythological based superhero or superheroine. You gotta have Ares. Especially Greek mythology. It's just so cool. I really dig that. George Perez really, the original design for Ares was just so bad. And I actually have it, is my pile of comics to showcase. I actually have the Marvel Ares comic, which was phenomenal. I got to break that out now that I'm talking about it. Here's Arisia, one of the Green Lanterns. She, a little embarrassing thing because she was supposed to be like 14 years older than like Hal Jordan had like an affair with her, and it caused quite understandably a kerfuffle. And then they fixed it by saying that it was 14 Arisian years, and each Arisian year is like 3 years, so she was really 42 or something like that. But whatever. So they fixed it. They got themselves out of it. But she's a Green Lantern. I've gone on record by saying that I don't like the Green Lanterns that much. I like Hal Jordan. I like the costume. I don't particularly like. I don't like Guy Gardner. I like John Stewart. I like those two characters. But my favorite is still Alan Scott, the original Green Lantern. I just love that costume. That's so bad. It's great. But what I don't like about them is the powers are really undefined. You could get away with just saying he could do anything. And I know that's kind of hypocritical because like Silver Surfer could do anything, but that's his shtick. Everybody knows the Silver Surfer could do anything. He has the power cosmic, so he's just like Lesser Galactus. But I don't know, for Green Lantern, and then there's like 3,600 of them. It just dilutes it. I kind of do like the idea of like a superpowered space police, but I don't know, something about the Green Lantern just bothers me. And like, I know this is petty, but the Green Lantern has a ring. The Green Lantern should be carrying a lantern. That's to me what the Green Lantern should be doing. But anyway, I thought I'd talk about her name for a second. Arisia is an homage to The Lensman. And The Lensman is a series by E.E. Smith. And it's like credited with being like the first space opera. And I went through a period where I had to read all the literature that the superhero comics were based on. So I read Gladiator by Philip Wiley. I what's the other? Oh, The Lensman inspired the Green Lantern. And there's another book that I gotta read the Doc Savage. I haven't read them yet, but in The Lensman, it was in the future, and you had these space patrolmen, and they wore a lens on their wrist, like a wristwatch, and it was basically a Green Lantern ring. You know, it they could project mental energy. They could fly. You know, they could fly through space and things like that. And keep in mind, I think the first book came out in like 1919, and it is very imaginative. And what I like about it is the aliens are totally alien. Like there's one race of aliens that invaded a planet at the same time Earth invaded a planet, and they just ignored each other because their motivations, their desires, their needs were so different that they just, you know, there was no problem. Like it was as if, like, you know, I don't know, elephants and mosquitoes were flying around. You know, neither one of them paid much of it. I just thought that was a cool concept. But man, did it have large space battles? Probably the largest space battles of any literature I ever read. Like planets were getting destroyed. That's how cool. But why did I bring this up? Well, first off, the Lensman inspired the Green Lantern. That's no secret. And second off, there was two races, well, there was three races. The good guy race, the Arisians, where the name comes from. Then there was the Boscone, the evil race, and then there were humans. And there was a whole bunch of other races too. But the Arisians were these benevolent brains. They were like pulsating mental brains that just floated. And that was the good guys. They created the lens and gifted it to Earth. And so somebody at DC said, you know what, well, let's acknowledge the Lensman and let's make a name. So how can we do that? Well, they named a Green Lantern after the race that created the lens, which was the inspiration for the Green Lantern. How is that for a long-winded explanation? Artemis. So this is Todd McFarlane and Al Gordner. This just I don't think this art team works too well, and this is a horrible design for a costume. But this is the original Artemis. Okay, she's the bad guy that fought the All-Star Squadron and I think Infinity Incorporated. I thought this was the Artemis that was Wonder Woman's like sister. She's married to the Sportsmaster. You know, she's a huntress villain. Pretty cool, I guess. I don't know. I don't like this costume. Atmos. Greg LaRocque and Mike DiCarlo. This is from my favorite period of the Legion of Superheroes. He joined the Legion of Superheroes and then like betrayed them, and I don't like him because this I can't stand. I just can't stand this missing portion of his body. Can't stand it. It just drives me crazy. That's all I got to say about him. I don't even like looking at him. It just bothers me. I don't know. Axis America. And this is by Brian Murray, the artist. And these were Nazi analogs of superheroes. So here we got the Superman ripoff, Ubermensch, Fledermaus, which is Batman, and why can't I think of the Robin character? The Seawolf is Aquaman. That's the Wonder Woman, Gudra rather, and Green Arrow is Usul. So there you go. They're the Horned Owl and Fledermaus. So the Horned Owl is Batman. Fledermaus is Robin. And there you go. Nazi analogs for the Justice League. They fought the Young All-Stars and Young All-Stars #1. Again, a comic book that I'm the only one who liked. The Bad Samaritan by Jim Aparo. I should have recognized that. I'm embarrassed that I didn't. Who did he? The Outsiders #3. Yeah. I just love the concept of the Bad Samaritan. You know, playing off the biblical story of the Good Samaritan. Nothing much to say about him. I don't think he showed up too much. But Jim Aparo and Mike W. Barr created a bunch of bad guys. Some of them were really hokey for the Outsiders, and the Bad Samaritan being one of them. You know, he was just a troublemaker. Baron Tyranno. Who drew this? Joe Staton. I know nothing about him. Oh, it's a Green Lantern villain. I never really collected Green Lantern. I just don't like Green Lantern. So I know people like them, but good for you. That's fine. You like what you want. Batgirl by Rick Leonardi and Carl Kessel. This is Barbara Gordon. You know, this is, I think, right before she got turned into Oracle, which I don't know. I guess am I in the minority here? I like Oracle as a character more than I like Batgirl. I don't know, just something about Oracle. I thought she was cool. Now, in an ideal world, we'd have Barbara Gordon as Batgirl, and somebody else would have become Oracle, and so we could have both. But if I had to choose between Barbara Gordon as Batgirl or Barbara Gordon as Oracle, I like Oracle better. I don't know. What do you guys think? Let's start a poll. Let's divide and hate the other side. Let's have the Batgirl people hate the Oracle people, the Oracle people hate the Batgirl people, and then call each other Nazis. How's that? Let's do that. So, we have one of the ultimate art teams of all time. Alan Davis, Paul Neary, drawn Batman. Awesome. This was a weird period. The Alan Davis, Paul Neary period of Batman. I think I showcased one with Catwoman and the Joker. Just a bizarre period. I love it. This is 87. This is when I started getting into Batman hardcore. Before that, I always liked Batman, but I didn't collect it until around this period. This was just awesome. Awesome period. I can't recommend it enough. To me, that is ultimate Batman. That, you know, not the Super Batman, not the Uber Batman that they have today. Belle Reve this was their original prison. I think now they have like Seagate and everything, but Belle Reve was their original super prison. Who drew this? Oh, Luke McDonald and Rick Magyar. That was difficult for me to say. Luke McDonald is one of those artists that I don't think gets enough credit. I first discovered him on the Suicide Squad that came out in the 90s. I really like him. Bizarro by John Byrne. Why is John Byrne doing all the Superman villains? Because at this point, Superman is being done by John Byrne. John Byrne took over. DC got a big truck full of money and backed it up at John Byrne's house like a dump truck. The cash just filled up his swimming pool, and then Batman, and then John Byrne did Superman comics for a little while, and they were good. I really liked it. And I also remember the older timers are understandably upset because the whole continuity, everything that their childhoods were being destroyed. And it's funny because at the time I was like, yeah, but Superman's good now, you know, because I was, and still am, a John Byrne fanboy. And now, as I'm the old timer and I'm seeing my comic book characters change, I feel like, you know, calling up all these old timers and apologizing to them, you know, guys that came into my comic book store shaking their heads, you know. I totally understand, guys, you know, I understand. Black Adam. Who's drawn this? Tom Mandrake. Tom Mandrake drew I think it was Roy Thomas wrote it, a 4-issue Shazam series that just people just hated. Like Billy Batson was like a jerk, you know. Mary Batson was like a troubled teen. It was just terrible. It was like for a modern audience, and they just wrote, and it's just memory hold. And then Jerry Ordway redid Shazam, and that was awesome with the power of Shazam. That was really good. Blackguard. I've always liked this character. He's generic villain number 6, but I just like him. Part of it's because Dan Jurgens is an amazing comic book artist. It just looks cool. You know, nothing else I could say. And if you're a comic book character and you don't look cool, it's gonna be tough. You know what I mean? I don't know, Blackguard. He's just this gigantic armored powerhouse. How can you not like him? He's just a good bad guy. And he debuted in Booster Gold #1, another comic that I have an affinity for, The Black Mace. This is by Greg LaRocque and Romeo Tangal. So, Legion of Superheroes villain. I don't think he looks like that all the time. That is like ultimate generic villain look. You know. He has the superpowered mace. I think they changed him by the time I started reading Legion of Superheroes. I don't know why they don't have his different costume. Here he is getting kicked by Karate Kid. Bloodsport, another one by John Byrne. I remember I was working in an office at this point, one of my first like real jobs, and one of the salesmen was a comic book fan, and I just remember we were talking about comics, and he just found out that I was into comics. I was trying to be serious, you know, keep my comic book to myself, and he found out I was into comics, and he was just like, Superman got shot by a kryptonite bullet. You know, I didn't even get he got that comic that day and spoiled it for me, and I was like, I still remember his name, but I'm not going to say it. But it is a cool idea. It is like a logical idea. Why doesn't somebody make a kryptonite bullet and shoot Superman? Shoot Superman. Having a Mitch O'Connell moment over here. But what I liked about it more than the kryptonite bullet was Superman had to go into surgery, and the doctor had to use kryptonite to soften up Superman's tissue so he could extract the bullet. I just love that. That's one of the things I like about John Byrne is he takes all these fantastic superhero concepts and he makes it a little bit logical. It's pretty cool. And the original Blue Beetle, Dr. Dan Garrett. What was his first appearance? Mystery Men #1 by Fox Publishing. Art by Gil Kane. I love that costume. Just old fashioned. It's just awesome. And what he found that the beetle scarab that gave him what powers? Exactly, whatever powers he needed to tell the story. That was like one of the things in the Golden Age. Is sometimes the power they started out with just like Batman abilities, and then later on they became like super powerful. And a lot of times, like especially in the Blue Beetle, I have a lot of these original Blue Beetles. The continuity was different from every. It was like Bugs Bunny, like Bugs Bunny. The continuity, there was no status quo. Like he lived in the desert, and then he's meeting Elmer Fudd for the first time, for the 20th time. That's the way it was. Like to the point they even spelled his name wrong. He was married, he wasn't married, different girlfriends. It didn't matter. And look at that Blue Beetle by Paris Cullins and Bruce Patterson. Just an awesome team. And I love that costume. This costume was one of those Steve Ditko designed costumes. Just a phenomenal. Steve Ditko deserves all the credit in the world. And I don't know if he gets credit as a great costume designer. I mean, Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, Blue Beetle, these are just amazing costume designs. They just stand the test of time. To the point, his costume has never changed, right? His costume has never changed. Spider-Man's costume always changes, but it always comes back, Just so cool. Booster Gold by Dan Jurgens and Mike DiCarlo. Booster Gold was weird because I hated the concept when it first came out, and I bought it because I was obsessed with DC. I was a fanboy. I had to get everything by DC, and it won me over. I ended up really liking the concept, and it what was it, the New 52 when they was it the New 52 or was it just the comic called 52? I forget what it was, but at one point they changed his concept to the point where he uses because he has a time travel sphere, and he was going to use that to go around the timeline and like fix problems, fix the timeline from cosmic threats. And he told Batman about this, and Batman was the only person who knew that Booster Gold was only acting like a goof because he didn't want these time traveling threats to take him as the one that was doing all of this fixing and time travel cosmic adventure stuff, so they wouldn't go and mess with him and his family. So he was acting like a goof when he was in the Justice League and everything, but he was really deadly. I thought that was just a great concept, and I think it like disappeared just as fast as it showed up, which is a shame because, like I said, I really liked it. But what do you want me to do? All right, Brimstone by Joe Brozowski and I can't even read that, Dennis Janke. This he debuted. He was a creation of Darkseid, if I remember correctly, and he debuted in that Legends comic 6-issue cross. Legends was like the follow up to Crisis on Infinite Earths. Once Crisis on Infinite Earths and Secret Wars over at Marvel came out, it just became, we got to do crossovers every year. So Legends was all right. The saving grace was it was John Byrne art, and John Byrne drawing this big flaming demon. It was really cool. So he's just like a he's like a fire golem. Darkseid makes this seed, it lands someplace, and boom, it consumes everything, and then the fire forms Brimstone. Pretty cool, good villain fodder. Here's Captain Atom. He debuted in Space Adventures 33, and then the modern version in Captain Atom #1, and then there was another version with the Steve Ditko inspired designed costume. I like Captain Atom, but I gotta say it was one of the more frustrating comics that I read. First off, art by Pat Broderick. I love Pat Broderick's art. Just phenomenal artist. His origin, like he was blackmailed and tricked into becoming, and then they led him around, you know, forcing him to be. I don't know. I liked him too much for like how he was done dirty. Captain Marvel. This is also by Tom Mandrake, because this is doing the Tom Mandrake. Yeah, Shazam: The New Beginning. There we go. And they quickly memory hold that 4-issue series. It was terrible. Captain Marvel with an attitude, extreme, you know, all that stuff. I hated that stuff, but I love Captain Marvel. I love, you know, and he's Captain Marvel. He's not Shazam. He's Captain Marvel. He will always be Captain Marvel. Carapax. This is by Paris Cullen and Bob Lewis. This is a Blue Beetle villain. Just a cool design. Just this mech suit warrior fighting Blue Beetle. Just cool. Just cool. Charo. He's a shark villain for Infinity Incorporated. Todd McFarlane and Al Gordon. I love the series of whatchamacallit. Why can't I think anymore? My brain, I'm having another Mitch McConnell moment. Infinity Incorporated, duh. The origin of Infinity Incorporated, a couple of, they had a villain team called Helix. And Helix was, you know, like a double helix, like the DNA. So there was a Dr. Love, and he was like a obstetrician who interfered, like he injected pregnant women with baby and had a bunch of mutant children. There was like Mr. Bones, Penny Dreadful, a different Arak, and Carcharo. But Carcharo showed up later. He because they threw him in the water because he needed to breathe the water, so he grew. So he became like a super villain with like a submarine and sexy sidekick femme fatales. It was like over the top in a good way. I liked him. And here we have Caress. What a great name. What a great name. Greg LaRocque and Mike DiCarlo. So one of the Fatal Five. She had like death touch abilities, and I think she could also stop your heart. So just a great name. I love when the name and the superpowers mixed, like Catalyst. This is another one I thought it was clever. This is by Paris Collins and Malcolm Jones III. Blue Beetle, another Blue Beetle villain. Catalyst has the awesome ability and very dangerous ability of he could accelerate. Oh, he could control your body's chemical reactions. So like, he could touch you and then like accelerate your thyroid, or he could, you know, cause muscle contractions and, you know, your stomach to digest too much, you know, to the point where you could have like a stroke and heart attacks. Just an ultimate, pretty cool villain, you know. So he's a high priced assassin. That was difficult for me to say. And here we have the comics that came out time. Here's Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, Suicide Squad, Legion, Batman, and Action. I got all of these except for the Green Lantern. Like I said, I didn't like the Green Lantern. Oh, and here's the back cover that I already looked at. So there you go. This is the who's who. You know, this was updating for the regular series was done, and then they did a series of updates. So, you know, because DC is a publishing company, and every month new stuff came out. So there you go. Thanks a lot, everybody, and I'll see you tomorrow with another video. Please like and subscribe. All right? How's that? I'm being a total YouTuber guy. Bye-bye.